Div B West semifinal game between Team Showboat and Team Obscured. Joining me, the queen of co-casters herself, Cat Peach. How are you?
I'm doing well, still holding my co-caster queen title for the season. So let's see if I can keep it up through the finals. But I'm doing well. I'm glad to be here.
And I did realize in the beginning of that I had the wrong mic set. So for the first minute of this cast, guys, apologize for the sound snafus, but it's fixed now.
Woo!
Also, possibly future apologies if my daughter runs in here and makes a bunch of noise. The wife is out picking up dinner because it's been a little hectic around here. So that might happen. So we're all ready for adventure here, just like Lily. All right, so we do have two teams in lobby. Team Showboat, as the higher seed, opted to pick first map, and they banned Braxis, Obscured banned Battlefield of Eternity, and map 1, Braxis Holdout, was selected. I'm sorry, Infernal Shrines. Ignore everything I just said. Infernal Shrines, map 1, was selected by Team Showboat, and that's where we will be going on game 1.
Yeah, Infernal Shrines is a fun one to start out on. Teams often banning out Braxis Holdout. I was actually casting a Division B semifinals game earlier today where Braxis, it's one of those weird ones where, given that it's 2 lanes and not very traditional, it's not as straightforward whether or not a team is going to overall succeed or if it's just specifically that one map. And so Infernal Shrines, I think, gives a bit more clue as to how will this general series possibly go, given that it's a bit more traditional. So really good pick, I would say, for a first round.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the more traditional, kind of common picks we see in any kind of organized competitive type heroes. It's a very balanced map. Lots of different strategies can be effective on here. I think it's also a kind of a good map for a game 1 in a series because it kind of allows both teams to feel each other out. Not at this point in the season. These teams don't know each other very well. It's going to be first ban Maya for Obscured.
Yeah, Maya, pretty generic and pretty strong ban there. The Abathur is a very interesting response ban coming out from Team Showboat, I would say. Unless that might be a target for Obscured, but I don't see Infernal Shrines, and that doesn't scream Abathur to me necessarily.
I don't disagree with that, but like I said, these teams at this point in the season, they've played each other. They know each other. So I would not be surprised if that was a targeted ban. I would pull up my handy-dandy Stats of the Storm, but if I do that, it's going to cover the beautiful camera we have set on you right now. So we're not going to do that. First totally pick Blaze fair for Obscured.
I like it. Blaze's wave clear obviously is pretty strong compared to a lot of other warriors. Being able to split off, but then also join for the Shrine phase, help clear out those skeletal defenders is a pretty solid first pick. Doesn't give too much else away either, just because Blaze can work with so much. So Obscured can go in any direction that they choose for the rest of the draft while still picking a really strong hero up front.
Absolutely. He kind of seems to have fallen out of the meta just a tiny bit lately. Oh, wow. The founder coming in and dropping 100 bits. Thanks so much, Ark. That's super cool, man. A Deckard Cain and a Phoenix. That Phoenix pick in particular stands out to me because to the best of my knowledge, he is still bugged with the Shield Breaker talents. So a Varian pick would not surprise me at all for Obscured right here.
Yeah, it's these are actually 2 really risky first picks, right? Like Deckard Cain and Phoenix, and as you were saying, Varian now the instant pickup on the side of Obscured, followed by Stukov. Yeah, Phoenix extremely risky. It can work depending on the talent tree that Varian decides to go in. However, it's still a risk. You never know. And so if you're going to prioritize the Phoenix, I don't think anyone is really banning him out too often at this point for that same reason. I would have liked to see that a bit further down. it's very easily exploitable still at this point. So definitely a risk being taken up by Team Showboat.
Yeah, and it would almost have been foolish for Obscured not to pick up the Varian, to be frank. I actually really like Phoenix, but not when that bug is there. I think he's in a really good place once that bug is fixed. But I think you probably could have gotten him a little lower, so let's see if that's something that gets taken advantage of from the side of Obscured. We do have 4 seconds left on the ban for Team Showboat. They do opt to ban out the Genji. That makes a lot of sense with the Deckard on the backline. Harassment could be an issue there. And now we have the second ban coming out for Obscured.
Yeah, and I mean, the sky's kind of the limit, I feel like, for bans for Obscured right now. There's still so many strong, high-priority heroes that haven't been selected. We often see a lot of Garrosh still being banned really early on, and he is still very much on the table. And so, given that Obscured has already picked up the Blaze and that Varian, I wouldn't have been surprised to see a Garrosh, but instead going with an ETC ban. So still a Warrior ban, which I really do appreciate, given the current picks on the set of Team Showboat.
I'm very curious to see here. I know specifically for Team Showboat, Axel Foley, their tank player, before the rework, was an absolute monster on Diablo. I don't know how he feels about him since the changes in the buffs, though. He's kind of slipped through this draft with a Johanna Thrall, and probably not going to see him. However, Thrall, Earthquake, Phoenix, Purification Salvo, the bonus damage on any slow targets by Purification Salvo. My team ran this to brutal execution. Earthquake Salvo is absolutely a thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And simply just the, on top of that bonus damage, being able to slow anyone attempting to escape that earthquake, escape that purification salvo, even though once it hits, it's kind of guaranteed, but still being able to keep everyone in very close quarters, that then will allow whatever other follow-up Team Showboat has available to make sure they secure those kills. So could work out so long, again, as that Phoenix stays alive during these team fights and plays it very safe given that shield breaker kind of oddness that's currently in the game.
Didn't really talk about Johanna much. She thrives on Shrine with the double wave clear. As far as primary tanks go, she's probably the best primary tank at clearing out the Shrine Guardian. And we have a Leoric and a Gul'dan.
Yeah, the Leo is interesting, right? Because usually when you see a Leoric or you see a Blaze, you say that is your off lane. And so we have two choices here now, right, for potential off lanes, but then that also throws a whack into kind of the assumption of Taunt Varian. So it's hard to say up front, is this triple warrior or is this a Leo Blaze warrior with a Varian assassin build? It could go either way. I'd be really interested to see if this ends up being a Twin Blades variant or a Colossus Smash variant. The taunt might make sense versus something like the Thrall, but there's not so much frontline in this composition from Team Showboat that would necessarily warrant it. So I almost kind of like Twin Blades. I might be a little bit crazy in thinking that.
I mean,
but yeah.
I've seen Twin Blades be very effective in the right situation, but I have yet to see that situation be an organized, competitive game. I just haven't seen that yet. So if Obscured were to pull off a Twin Blades variant, it would be the first that I've seen it. I think it's much more likely to be Taunt or Colossus Smash if they opt to go away from Taunt. Very curious to see how Obscured does this comp that they have out right now.
Yeah, there's a lot of question marks. It seems like from both of us. I do like the Sukhov for setup for whatever they do have planned. Lurking Arm on this map in particular, I entirely fear Lurking Arm. It can just make or break any type of team fight for any team, and so having that available for the Shrine phase is really great. It's just how does the rest of that team follow up with it is going to be my big question here.
So, blue team, Team Showboat, we have Team Captain Yawners on Jaina, Axel Foley on Johanna, Lampico on Deckard Cain, Blue Popsicle on Thrall, and Kyrios on Phoenix.
And on the red side, we are going to have Obscured. We will have Captain Mumu on Blaze, Unicorn King on Stukov, and Zansin on Leoric, Garundov on Gul'dan, and Itches on Varian.
You know, the other thing we haven't touched on quite yet, with so many frontline heroes from Obscured and a huge potential for a very long, boring story coming out from Deckard Cain, you could get a lot of value out of Stay a While and Listen with so many frontline heroes.
Yeah, talking about, again, that purification salvo, if you can trap enough heroes in Stay a While and Listen, follow it up with purification, and then also follow that up with Earthquake to keep those really low health targets in that fighting range, that can be devastating on the side of Obscured. So it's something they have to watch out for. At the same time, Lornado is also a really strong option here, simply for zoning out people from the shrines or even trying to catch them in to get a pick. So still have options, but depending on what Deckard goes, might kind of dictate the way that Team Showboat decides to play this fight.
100% accurate. Chat, let me know how the volume level is, game relative to our lovely voices. In the top lane, it is going to be Phoenix against Leoric. I don't know that that is a solo lane matchup I have seen. I actually really like Phoenix in the solo. He can actually trade out health for shields and then regen it really fast. Leoric might have a hard time getting close enough to Phoenix to land that W, so I do think this is a lane Phoenix can win at the very least until Leoric gets his wave clear at 4. And if you see this lane right now, that's what's happening. Kyrios trading out shields for health, and Leoric is kind of slowly losing. However, I missed it watching that solo lane, and solo laners never get any love. A Jaina Deckard Cain both falling to an aggressive invasion by Obscured.
Yeah, a sub 2 minute camp steal on the side of Obscured from Team Showboat. I was looking on the minimap, there's a lot of activity going on in that camp, and I was like, excuse me, it's really early in this game, why are people going to the camp so quickly? But being able to get that extremely early push is something that both of these teams are going to find really valuable. Being able to prepare those gates, make sure they're low health or even down before shrine phases come up. And given that the mid lane will be the first shrine, it's important to prepare that as much as possible. So very interesting and aggressive first play coming out of Obscured.
And also interesting to note, Varian holding on to level 4 has not selected it yet.
That is quite curious. We have the overpower. And yeah, I wonder how long this Varian is going to hold on to that talent. You don't usually see people hold on to like your 10s or your 16s, and given that both teams are fairly equal, I wonder if it's going to be a response to something. They do end up going with Taunt, though, for Varian, so should be an exciting team fight if he's able to get the proper targets to focus on him, allowing the rest of his team to capitalize on damaging that backline for Team Showboat.
Also, chat, completely ignore where it says 2-game set. This is a best of 3. Johanna the first to fall. Nice follow-up by Mumu with the jet propulsion there. Blue Popsicle and Yonners both running for their lives. They are likely to get away here. Early game advantage going to Obscured. They are coming out here really strong. 3 unanswered kills, about a 3/4 level lead, and well on their way to taking the first John Cena of the game, which will be an Arcane Punisher.
And that's a really strong Punisher to start this out. It's one of the most annoying ones, giving the spinny lasers of death that just get littered all over the ground. I'm really impressed by 3 kills so far coming in for Obscured. They're showing that they are not afraid to fight with this seemingly very frontline heavy composition, knowing that you're going to have Johanna and in some sense the Thrall, and that's going to be it. And being able to work around that and pick off characters like Deckard, like Jaina, is going to, help them control the pace of this map and make Team Showboat extremely afraid of getting out of position or pushing in too far or even going in for these objectives.
Yeah, we didn't touch on it before because I didn't get nearly as much prep time as I would have liked for this series to update everyone watching. Team Showboat was the number 2 seed coming in, 8 wins, 2 draws, only a single domination. That was at the hands of Divine 9. They have been easily one of the best teams in Div B West this season. On the other side, the number 5 seed is Obscured, 5 wins, 3 draws, 3 losses. One of their losses earlier this season was to Team Showboat. However, they kind of very quietly had a great season and advanced here to the semifinals and have looked fantastic so far.
Yeah, given the way that NGS is set up, it's really interesting to see how these teams have grown. And even if you lose to a team very early in the season, being able to come back in the semifinals or even the finals and show how you have improved is really where it matters. And so Team Showboat did win week 5 over Obscured. And so if they win again, this is really fantastic morale for them. If Obscured ends up winning this match, at the same time, also really great morale, right? To say we came back, we were able to beat this team and go forward through this series. So it's more about whether these teams have been researching each other and understanding how the other plays and how they bring that into the game. This Phoenix, though, Kyrios, looking extremely low and ends up going down at the hands of Gul'dan, and it looks like this fort in mid is going to go down as well, giving Obscured level 10 talents. And this is where things are really going to start heating up.
That's 4 unanswered kills now for Obscured. Now, I can tell you personally, Div B West, this is my division. This is the division that I played in this season. And having had conversations with pretty much all of the team captains, an aggressive rotation. Leo's low, but he baited Thrall. There's the fear. There's the taunt. There's the silence. Thrall has nowhere to go. From having conversations with pretty much all of the team captains, it was generally regarded as pretty much 1 through 9 or 10 in this series, in this league, any of the teams were capable of taking any of the games off of any of the other ones. It was very close. It was very competitive. And I would not be surprised to see this series go either way.
Yeah, absolutely. And starting now with 30 seconds left for the next shrine, Obscured still looking to push the advantage they already have. Team Showboat still without level 10. Obscured not able to take down that fort, but at least start preparing damage on it so that if they do get this next immortal, half the work's already done and they can push harder and focus more on trying to get picks on the enemy team rather than trying to take down structures. Axel Folly's in a really interesting position, ends up using Fallen Sword to get away out of that choke point.
Technical note here, Cat Peach, check to see if we're muted in Skype because you're coming in with a little bit of an echo. And while she does that, level 10s for Obscured are Bunker Drop, Flailing Swipe, March of the Black King, Horrify, and Warbringer. On the side of Team Showboat, it is Earthquake, Ring of Frost, Falling Sword for Johanna, and it is not Purification Salvo, it is Planet Cracker, and Stay a While and Listen. This is a absolute slobber knocker. Nobody going down quite yet. There's the Stay a While and Listen, but that's for a disengage as Team Showboat is currently on the retreat. Leoric and Anson playing really aggressive. The blue health bars are so low. March of the Black King, second swing, misses on Johanna. She is able to stay alive. Johanna, not so much. That was about a 15-20 second team fight where Johanna finally fell at the end. Thrall, Blue Popsicle, he is going to fall as well. All right, Cat Peach, now we're actually having a different issue. You were coming in great on Skype, and you were not coming in at all on Discord, but I didn't notice with the Discord issues you have earlier. So I'm going to mute you in Discord and turn your Skype back on.
All right, switcheroo, we got this. And look at this Planet Cracker that's coming out on top of the Ring of Frost. 2 members end up going down, Jaina as well, but Blaze ends up following after. Blue Popsicle trying to get damage onto the side of Obscured. Itches ends up taking down Johanna, however. And what an interesting team fight to happen. That Planet Cracker was a seriously beautiful combination. Being able to lay that on top of the Ring of Frost and get 3 picks on Obscures. It was exactly what Team Showboat needed. And finally, they can get level 13 as well and make this a bit more of an even fight.
Yeah, the 3-for-3 trade goes in favor of the way comeback mechanics work of the team that was down. So if you're down 2 levels like Team Showboat was and you go 3-for-3, that is actually a win for your squad. Your death timers are shorter, the experience is more to allow you to catch up. But maybe more importantly for Team Showboat, you feel like that was the first time this game that Obscured didn't get everything that they wanted. Up to this point in this game, Obscured has been marching around the map, taking exactly what they wanted all the time, and that moment, that 3-for-3 fight, was the first time that Team Showboat kind of put their foot down and stopped that momentum.
Yeah, and I'm just kind of looking at the mini-map and seeing how Deckard has spread those potions all across the mid and bottom lanes, which gives them really great setup depending on if they want to rotate out of a team fight or into a team fight if their members are already low. They do have to respond to this camp pushing in on top. That gate is already down in front of that keep, and so any mercenaries pushing there is damage on the keep, which is extremely risky. We already saw the shrine up there, so it's likely not going to be a double up in that top lane. But you don't want to forget about it, because as soon as that shrine spawns up there again, you're going to be in a world for hurt if you don't have that lane pushed out into your favor. We do end up seeing the Shattering Throw talent from Varian for level 13, which is definitely going to give Phoenix quite a bit of a problem. So Kyros needs to play extremely careful and keep that in mind going forward and not push too far in and, be the receiving end of that taunt, because that's just going to be terrifying news.
Yeah, Kyrios just needs to avoid Varian like the plague. He almost just needs to flat run from him. He cannot be anywhere near Varian. I love what Obscured is doing here. They're dominating 2 lanes. They took the bottom fort for free to secure 16. Team Showboat's going to be on the back foot here as they posture around the map and try to catch 16 for themselves. As poor as this has gone for Team Showboat, they do have all of their keeps up. However, I don't think they're going to be able to get 16 before this objective. So unless they want to fight down a talent tier, I think they're going to be giving this one up.
Yeah, they either have to give it up or find some way to soak that experience. They are halfway to 16, but it's a tough situation. Thankfully, on the side of Obscured, they can clear pretty quickly, especially with that Leo, but given that this Shrine phase requires you to kill these skeletal defenders, might bait for a little bit more time for them to get 16, and at very least have it for once the Punisher is finally available, or they're going to have to make some kind of Hail Mary play as soon as 16 is available and dive right into that Shrine, and that might also be extremely risky, so we're going to have to see how they play this out. Currently, they're able to take down structures. They have 16 for themselves, so they need to act now with 32 defenders on the side of Obscured.
It's kind of an interesting dynamic there. Obscured actually only had 2 members on the thing to start, and that gave Showboat enough time to get 16 and contest. If they would have had all 5 members on there, this would have been secured a long time ago, but they were anchoring, trying to catch Team Showboat, and they were not able to. It does go over to Obscured in a 1-for-1 with both mages falling down. Lompico, Deckard Cain, that old man is not getting out, and it is going to end up being a 2-4... Did I speak too soon?
Is Grandpa going to be able to hobble away? It looks like he is throwing down his own sippy cups. He's got one of them right there waiting for him. Little nighttime by the end of the bed snack for when Grandpa gets a little bit hungry. Ends up with the miracle survivability. However, we still have this Punisher that Team Showboat has to deal with. They're able to beat it over the gate, but we're going to have to see them take this out quickly if they want to see that keep. It is below 50% health already, so we have to see how Obscured wants to play this. Do they want to push in and maybe try to make up for Team Showboat taking out the Punisher as fast as they did? but it looks like they're going to back away, possibly get this bottom siege camp in the process. They still have so much control over this map, though, and have taken out all 3 forts on the side of Team Showboat. They need to think of a plan, take a step back, that you have some time before the next shrine spawns. Think about your game plan and think about how you turn this map around.
One of the things I was going to do going into this cast that I didn't have the opportunity was with the cartography, the keys to the game. One of the keys to the game with, if you were the side of Obscured here, was do not fall behind to Team Showboat. One of the things they have shown, maybe their biggest strength this season, is they have really good killer instinct. They don't let late game opportunities get away. So far, Obscured has done everything they need to do. Having said that, that last Punisher defense was picture perfect for Team Showboat. They got exactly what they needed. All of their keeps are up. Not only did Deckard Cain get away, he actually got away at like full health too. It was shocking at how healthy he was when he got away.
I know, and it's like this little old man hobbling away, but the fact that you can throw potions right in your line of where you're walking, the fact that there could be some scattered already available to you, it's surprisingly not only makes Deckard hard to kill in that sense, but could make it harder to kill some other heroes on the side of Team Showboat if those potions are available. The beautiful Fear coming out on top of the Earthquake, followed up by the Ring of Frost and the Planet Cracker. Gerendorf looking really low, ends up going down as well. 2 members on the side of Obscure down, and make that a third with only 1 on the side of Team Showboat. And can they go for more here? It just ends up going down as well, and there's 1 member left on the side of Team Obscured, and Zans ends up being able to Wraithwalk away and ends up surviving. But that was a fantastic turn of a team fight, and exactly that space that we were talking about that Team Showboat needs to make up experience, get closer to level 20 themselves, and start pushing back these lanes and taking control of this map.
Team Showboat, that was exactly what they meant to do. You saw the 3 specific members they sent on the flank were the 3 members they wanted to get set that up. Yonner's on Jaina did go down, but she did everything she needed to do before she went down. The Ring of Frost locked everybody in. She dropped all of her cooldowns, set up the Purification Salvo, and essentially traded herself for that team fight win. And I bring your attention to the experience. A game that has been one-sided as far as level leads go is now completely dead even.
Yeah, and I mean, that just shows how quickly these games can turn around, right? A couple kills, maybe like a full team wipe. We saw 4 members of Obscure go down in the fight, and that is the biggest team fight, it seems like, that's happened so far in this game in terms of deaths that ended up resulting. And so that puts Obscured in a bit of a strange position, thinking we were ahead in experience, ahead in levels, we can do this, and they end up being the ones on the back foot. So they have to be more cautious going into this next fight.
And this could be the one that defends the game. Johanna does go Falling Sword. Axel Foley doesn't get anybody, is putting pressure on Johanna. Ring of Frost only captures Stukov. There's the Planet Cracker, and the Stay a While and Listen. As beautiful as everything synergized in the last team fight, not the case for Team Showboat here, as they are in trouble. Kyrios going to go down. Blue Popsicle likely to follow, though he does get away. Axel Foley, there goes Thrall. Now Axel Foley will go down. This is going to be an ace for Obscured and an open lane post level 20. This needs to be a core call here, and it will be. 3 Katas, 5 heroes, a Merc camp marching unopposed down the top lane to core. They are securing the objective. I don't think that's really necessary.
Yeah, I mean, you can always have a backup plan if something doesn't go well. Given this current state of the cooldown timers, this should be fine for Obscure to seal the deal. However, it's always good to have that backup plan in case everything goes wrong, and Varian ended up harping back, possibly needing some more health, some more mana, and these 2 members of Obscured are going to clean this up. GG's for them in game number 1, and yeah, quite an interesting series of events given the super heavy frontline of that Team Obscured.
Yeah, I think the Phoenix into Varian could have been an issue there too, but really it was just really nice execution by the side of Team Obscured. Anything jump out at you on the stat screen here?
I actually just backed out of the stat screen because I got really impatient. So I will go to you. Is there anything very interesting to garner from that?
Well, the first thing that jumps out at me is a large healing discrepancy here between Stukov and Deckard, 70k to 43k. That's a hard thing to overcome when your healer is just not outputting to the same quite as level, same healing level, especially in this case because their team was so much beefier with the triple front line. That just means they had more hit points to burn through, plus the defensive ultimate of Bunker there. So definitely some things to go over. We're going to go ahead and touch bases with Yawners and see what they want to do for Game 2 here.
Yeah, and as we kind of think about, the bans that happened in Game number 1 and how much of that is going to translate to Game number 2, I definitely still see that Maiev ban coming in. When I look at that Deckard Phoenix first 1-2 rotation on the side of Team Showboat, hopefully not going to see that again. It's still extremely easily punished, picking things like that early. But it really all depends on the map and how these teams are feeling and who's picking what, to be entirely honest. But we had some interesting bans into this first map, and I would like to see some really interesting bans going into the second one. And yeah, that Stay a While Planet Cracker Ring of Frost combination was so, I have no other word for it. It was bonkers, right? Like, you see the Stay a While come out, and you have these perfectly placed targets. You throw the Ring of Frost down, and then you say, I know they're rooted, time to throw out that damage. And, it worked sometimes. It didn't work some other times, obviously. But I really like the concept, and I'm wondering if that's something that Team Showboat, that combination in general, they are, comfortable bringing into Game 2, possibly Game 3, or if that was something they kind of did on, I don't want to say a whim, but, just thinking about, maybe an hour before this game, being like, we're comfortable with these heroes, how do we set them up in a way to make us succeed? So, Wombo combos are always fun for the viewers as well. So.
Yeah, and, the one time they executed it, you could see exactly what they were trying to do. It was pretty brutal, but they were only really able to nail it the one time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so and I mean, I don't know if that was only being able to nail it the one time simply because they didn't have the proper communications or setup to achieve what they did the first time, or if Obscured said, you did this to us once, so like, shame on us, but the second time we're not going to fall for it again, and we're able to get around it in those subsequent attempts. So it's hard to say either way. I don't know if you have a specific thought on either direction.
With Team Showboat, from my experience with them playing against them, watching them, I do think they are at their best playing ahead, and they may have got kind of put back on their heels a little bit. So I'm very curious to see what they decide to do in Game 2. They did opt to pick map in Game 2. They selected Dragonshire, so that's where Game 2 will be played. Dragonshire, definitely a different animal than Infernal Shrines. A lot more prioritization on rotations and control of the map rather than a single fight over an objective over a set period of time. It's almost like once the game gets going, the whole game is like a running objective.
Yeah, and Dragonshire is one of those fun maps where a lot of teams will try to just like set up camp in one lane, and then we'll slowly start to test out, like, can we start to go to bottom lane? How much are they willing to respond to us grabbing camps in different areas? How many resources will they commit to soaking their own experience? And so you get some really interesting play styles. Often still seeing this is one of the maps that Dahaka still comes up on a lot, just because he can juggle between those two very, very well and also hold his own. False Out we used to see, but depending on how many people are at those shrines, might be really scary for him to fly up and then be in the face of 2 or 3 members of the enemy team, easily taken down. And so, interested to see if we see any of those picks coming up in this next game.
All right, so we do have almost all the members of both teams in here. Still waiting for a couple more from Obscured. One of the fun things watching, participating in, and of a series like this, best of 3, where you start to know the teams, is watching the kind of internal meta within the series itself develop. You start to see more, not only targeted bans from your research, but targeted bans from the game you just played. Anything that jumps out at you, if you're either one of these teams, is there somebody specific you want to ban going into game 2?
Yeah, and all you have to base on that, right, is this past match and also kind of like prior knowledge. I think if I look at the performance of both teams, possibly that Stukov or that Blaze being abandoned, it was, given there was so much frontline, it was hard to see how often that Lurking Arm was really playing a part in a lot of these team fights, just because I saw so many heroes ramming into the enemy team. But definitely a potential, right? On the other side, for Team Showboat, they had that Abathur ban early on. Likely not going to make an appearance on Dragonshire, so likely to see some adaptations there, I would say.
Yeah, you're probably not going to see an Abba ban. They are going to stick right with that Maiev ban from Obscured. That's smart. Actually, I didn't mention this in the first draft, but Team Showboat plays Maiev very well, so that not only is she good, well, they stuck with the Abba ban. So maybe something we just don't know about Obscured. That's got to be the case.
Yeah, maybe Obscured has like totally solidified the solo Abathur support composition that we've been seeing at the pro tiers. Likely not, but yeah, there must be something up with this Abathur ban, because we don't often see Abathur drafted on Dragonshire whatsoever. And we're still going to see that first pickup Blaze for Obscured.
So far, no adjustments from either side. First pick Blaze for Obscured. Now we have 2 picks coming out for the side of Showboat. I don't think we'll see Phoenix again so early. Not to say we won't see him, but I don't think they're going to show it quite so early this time if they opt to go down that path. So where do they go here? What do they turn to if they go with the Stukov and the Sonya? So keeping Stukov away from Obscured, grabbing the solo lane bruisery Sonya for the side of Team Showboat.
I like it. I know that Stukov's fallen a bit out in terms of other supports, and surprisingly enough, we did not see Malfurion at all last game, and I'm wondering if Malfurion will be the pickup for Obscured since that Stukov was taken away. But I feel like I stress this every cast, but I just feel it's so important, that Lurking Arm can make or break a team fight. If you go in thinking that you're going to have this execution plan and it gets shut down because of that silence area, that can be huge. And especially on a map like Dragonshire, where that Lurking Arm could go down right under the Dragon Capture or right under the Shrines and lead to a pick or lead to a turn in a team fight. I think that's a great takeaway on the side of Team Showboat, to say you don't deserve this. However, we're going to have a takeaway of the Decker Kane in that case from Obscured. And still the Varian. So
no Malfurion for either side. And I'm going to keep kind of piggyback on you with the Stukov. He did just receive earlier this week a little bit of a buff to his healing numbers, which were scaled back a few weeks ago. They kind of tuned him back up, not quite to where the level they were before, but his healing numbers are up a little bit. And in addition to that Lurking Arm, which can be really oppressive when used properly, both of his heroics are excellent disengagement anti-dive tools. Those get overlooked a lot. So sticking with the Varian, I think that really means we're not going to see Phoenix this game, and another Deckard Cain, but this time on Obscured. So very similar draft for Obscured, except for we trade out Deckard for Stukov, and Pan coming out on the side of Showboat. It's going to be a damage dealer of some sort. Let's see who it's going to be.
Yeah, at least I would hope so. Instead, afraid of that triple front line that we saw last game, they end up banning out Leoric, which I mean, mate, is that something that Obscured is really known to play is the question, or was the execution just so powerful that Team Showboat says, we don't want to deal with that. We don't even want to give you the option of having that. I definitely wasn't expecting it, given that the way that Varian was played in that last match. But I don't know. What are your thoughts, Mongoose?
I think, you know what I think it is, honestly, is the other thing that you might ban out there is going to be a ranged damage dealer. But there's so many on the board, almost no matter what you ban out in the form of a ranged damage dealer, there's kind of somebody that can do it similarly. So there's not a great ban coming out from the ranged backline. Leoric, though, if that's something that Obscured wanted, again, there is not a Diet Coke Leoric available. If Leoric is banned, he's just not on the board. I
love that phrasing. I'm sorry. The Diet Coke Leoric. It's very good.
ETC banned out. Axel Foley plays a great ETC, so no concerts for Showboat. I'm curious if we're going to see his patented Diablo. I haven't seen it since the rework. Haven't seen it since the buffs either. Johanna is still on the board. He did play the JoJo last game.
Yeah, and I mean, otherwise, on top of that, maybe you pull out something a little bit different in maybe that Arthas, given the heavy focus on frontline for Obscured, or maybe you have a Nubarak to potentially even shut down something like Stale Wildness or shut down the taunt on Varian. Not so common. I would actually really like to see the Diablo, but and we're gonna get it, thankfully, along with this Junkrat. So back to that staple for Team Showboat. And as you were saying, like, if this is the first time they've pulled it out since the rework, there are many questions to be had if you're Obscured.
Yeah, I mean, Axel Foley, the middle part of this season, when Team Showboat was really on a roll before Divine Nine finally dethroned them, Axel Foley on Diablo was just getting banned out a lot of games. The opponents were seeing how good they were with him in particular, how well the team responded to it, and they were starting to take the Diablo away from him. Now then there was the rework, and he kind of fell off a little bit. That targeted ban wasn't there. I haven't seen them play the Diablo since then. That's not to say that they haven't, but it definitely hasn't been as prominent of a part of their team since then. Axel Foley knows himself some Diablo. Don't be surprised if he plays him really well. On the other side, though, there is the Malthael in response, staying with a triple front line for Obscured. And a quad front line. Maybe I was wrong. Is Malthael the Diet Coke of Leoric? He does have the percentage-based healing. Or a percentage-based damage, I should say.
I'm kind of looking at that Alarak, and whoever ends up being targeted by that Alarak and displaced and pulled into the enemy team, I fear for them for the most part, especially if you're Diablo or Sonya. Junkrat might have a bit more of the tools to get away with that concussion mine, but even Sukov, if somehow that happens, that's a very terrifying situation to be in no matter who you are. So definitely curious how Alarak's going to land those combos in this match.
I'm not going to lie, Cat Peach. Purely selfishly, I want Team Showboat to pick another warrior, so it would just be a Royal Rumble on Dragonshire. No ranged, all melee, everybody just diving in and slamming each other around. A little inside info from Dr. Holiday in the chat. We're pretty sure Ans Anson has not lost an NGS on Leoric this season. That would explain the Leoric ban as well. Yawner's going on to Cassia. That is a comfort hero for him. He plays her very well.
Yeah, and I do like that Cassia pick a bit into this team.
Ball
she does
lightning
have that
into all melee.
Going to go on forever,
if they get to the level
late
20 with the Ball Lightning upgrade, that thing is going to bounce, forever. It just won't stop.
Yeah, absolutely. And she also had that recent buff to her health, right? And compared to a lot of the other armor changes that happened, it ended up being 11% health increase for her, which is nothing to sneeze at. Like, that's pretty significant. And so can Sukov keep her alive if she goes into fire is really the question. Or can Diablo get those charges, get those flips in order to set up for her so that she can capitalize it and start picking off enemy team members?
very interested to see how this game goes. Number 2 seeded Team Showboat, 1 win away from being eliminated. We have Axel Foley on Diablo, Yonners on Cassia, Lampico on Stukov, Blue Popsicle on Sonya, and Kyrios on Junkrat.
And hoping to make their way into Division B finals, we have Obscured. Mumu will be on Blaze, Anzan Sin on Malthael, Unicorn King on Deckard Cain, Garandov on Alarak, and Itches on Varian.
Will be very interesting to see what Junkrat does with those concussion mines with so many melee heroes coming out for Obscured. All melee comps like this, or largely melee comps like this, can be really powerful. One of the areas they can struggle with, though, when you're all melee, very little poke, is if you fall behind and you're forced to defend the Dragon Knight, it is very difficult to do that without ranged damage dealers. So it is very incumbent on Obscured not to fall behind this game.
Yeah, absolutely. And we saw how they were able to command that early game in the last game. And so long as they can keep up those really great rotations and making sure that they're focusing on camps, we saw them invade a camp at under 2 minutes in that last game and take it away from Team Showboat. So if they can keep up plays like that, I think they'll do really well. But we're going to see the silence coming out from Lukov. Itches looking extremely low. Cassia trying to go in and finish the job, but Yanners just doesn't have the damage.
I don't have a lot of words for this game so far. Now, I will say this you're not going to see very much. Deckard left in lane against Sonya. That is, of course, to allow Malthael to go take the shrines. It is going to take him a long time to clear with his little walking stick. Sonya has also rotated away to get the camps. Nobody from Team Showboat has picked up that lane quite yet. It is pushed out pretty far, though, so Kyrios looks like he's going to throw some grenades over to help Blue Popsicle, then maybe make his way up. One of the comments I always make about Dragonshire, purely from a casting perspective, I think it is one of the hardest maps to observe on, because there's no objective to pull everybody to, and there tends to be stuff going on all over the place. Like Sonya being invaded on her own camp once again, Blue Popsicle goes down, and Obscured times the invasion perfectly, picking up first blood and stealing the Bruisers right out from under Team Showboat.
Yeah, that was such a great call to say we know that Team Showboat has a Sonya, and Sonya is really good at laning and grabbing those camps by herself. And if we don't see her in a lane, then there's a chance, if there's a camp up, we're going to see her there. So committing that many resources and grabbing that camp is a huge win for Obscured. Potentially this win, if they're able to take down Yonners as well, pushing Axel Foley and Yonners back into their side. And again, we're just seeing Obscured be so aggressive and dominant with this composition and on this map. And it's hard to sort of imagine, given the results of last game, how Team Showboat plans to adapt to get the win for them in this game number 2.
Yeah, and talking on that invasion, it wasn't just a matter of Sonya's not here, she's doing a camp. It was Sonya's not here, and all of her teammates are in the bottom lane. Not only is she on a camp, she's on a camp by herself. However, Alarak in a lot of trouble. Axel Foley going deep. However, Varian slipped away, channeled the DK, and that will signal the retreat for Team Showboat. Alarak went in very deep there, got very close to dying. However, bought just enough time for Varian to jump in the Dragon Knight. You don't see this much. They are going after the top fort. Sonya does go down as Anson on Malthael was crushing this top lane. I actually like this choice just because this fort is so low. It's going to be a free XP boost for them. And now a full level up, 2 unanswered kills. The early game, game 2, looking very similar, Cat Peach, to the early game in game 1.
Yeah, and I would really like to see Team Showboat just take a step back and maybe not be so upfront in terms of trying to aggress their opponents. Right now they're focusing on getting this Dragon Knight out as soon as possible, which is all you can really do given the situation. They almost had that kill on Alarak, which would have been really fantastic for them, but the talent pickup from Deckard Cain, giving the shields on top of healing, really prevented that. Roots coming down. Axel Foley surrounded by 4 members of Obscured. they're going to be able to back out just fine. But Garandov, again, going in at low health and not being afraid, knowing that they can get those potions from Unicorn King, who has been great on landing them on their teammates as well, along with getting that additional shielding as well.
Two things I've noticed here. One, the combination that Obscured has been running here, which is Garandov on Alarak, pulling and silencing using his combo and CC, and Unicorn King on Deckard, setting all of his CC just on the other side of it. So he pulls them in, and then the members of Team Showboat have to walk through of all of Deckard's CC to get away. It's actually a really clever combination they've put together here. Cassia does go down in the top lane, a third kill for the side, and there's the taunt onto Diablo, the Deckard follow-up. The concussion mine does put Blaze out, and he's slammed by Axel Foley just to buy some space to get away. My other thought was, I mentioned in the early game how difficult it is to defend when you're down in level without any range. The flip side of that is with such large health pools, it can be very oppressive playing into an all melee comp when they are up in level as well. So that is a double-edged sword. And you may start to see that with Obscured up a full level here.
Yeah, and we'll have to keep an eye on that as that game goes on. As different talents are picked up to sort of either enhance that or, you know, counter that depending on which team you are on, could very much change the game. We're still pre-level 10, and although this game seemingly is dictated one way, it can go either, and Gurud ends up getting pinned by Axel Foley. Can they get out this time is the question, and the Junkrat concussion mine ends up blowing Gurud back into their own side of the turf, effectively saving them when I think it was meant to launch them back.
Yeah, I don't know if they were going to get him without the launch back, and that's got to be a little demoralizing by Showboat. They invested 4 members and a lot of cooldowns into trying to secure that pickoff and stem the momentum here, unable to do so. They actually have Mercs pushing toward the top lane. Off camera, Sonya and Malthael actually traded. However, Alarak does check the bush, and this time, he does not get away. Lornado does come out. Both teams have reached their 10. Deckard Cain might be in trouble. Axel Foley body blocking really nicely. And 2 unanswered kills. Team Showboat needed that big time. We do have a pause with a couple of DCs here. We'll wait for those teams to come back. So it looks like the side of Obscured having some lag issues, so we're going to come out and here and chat a little bit until they're ready to go.
Yeah, let's talk those 2 pickoffs, right? With that Deckard, with that Alarak, I think, you know, are really big picks on for Team Showboat, right? It puts them 1 behind in terms of total kills. But even saying now that we have level 10, we can maybe fight a bit more now that we're a little bit even. I don't think we saw too many heroics go out to make sure they got caught, but that was great body blocking by Axel Foley and Janners as well to make sure that Deckard did not escape. And finally getting that Alarak down. I think that's all anyone really wanted. That was the 3rd attempt, 3rd time's a charm. So congratulations to Team Showboat on at least getting those kills. But how do they end up taking that momentum and pushing it through the rest of this game? They are still down a structure in the top. When we pause, Sonya is clearing up a camp up there. But we did see Team Showboat get a camp of their own in the bottom lane. So hopefully they can push, make up a bit of experience, and start opening up the map themselves.
Yeah, not only are they did they get the 2 kills in the bottom lane, they actually have the camp pushing 2 with 4 members down there. So there is going to be some pressure coming out from the side of Team Showboat here. It looks like we might be getting ready to go here. Let me make sure both teams are ready to go. Well, I'm... Okay. All right, so let me switch screens here. So Merc Camp is still pressuring in the top. Somebody's going to have to come up here and deal with that for the side of Obscured. In the meantime, the bottom team, Showboat, is taking the bottom fort completely unopposed. Maltfield does look to be a bot. There they are. Now it looks like they just joined. Initially, it showed them as a bot. All right, we may get another pause here. Let's see. It's up to the players to pause, not the casters or referees. So there is a double silence into Team Showboat. An APOC response catches 2. Alarak is kind of wandering around. That does look like lag there on the Alarak. Junkrat and Alarak trade out kills. Mumu does it a double stun with the jet propulsion, ends up going down anyway. There is the follow-up from Sonya and Diablo, takes down the Varian. That might be, and Zanson does get away with the channel. That might be some bad timing for that fight with the possible ISP issues that Obscured is having here. However,
yeah, definitely. Sorry, go ahead.
As it looks like Team Showboat are going to secure their first Dragon Knight of Game 2.
Yeah, and they also were able to make up a lot of experience with that last team fight. So they're looking to hit level 13 a little bit before their opponents, which should help them push out this lane a little more or push out some other lanes if they choose to go that route as well. Dragon Knight pushing through, and we're going to get yet another pause and let these teammates figure out.
That always feels bad. I've been in Obscure's, I mean, we all have. Been in that position. So what we're going to see is how well Obscured can defend this with their composition. That is a compositional weakness they have. How quickly can they burn down that Dragon Knight? How safely
Poor Alaska. Poor Icy Island, all the way on another coast.
All right. So while we wait for Alaska to catch up in bandwidth, apparently.
Send them your thoughts, send them your internets while we wait for them to catch up a little bit.
So
yeah, I'm trying to.
This game started with basically, I think it might have been 5 straight kills, or at least 4 for Obscured, and now we look at the death count. It's 6-5 in favor of Team Showboat. Whether it be to some lag issues or whatever, they are also now up about 1/3 of a level in XP. So, however they've done it, they've managed to limit the damage to only top fort. All of their other structures are standing. They have a Dragon Knight pushing down the mid lane. This mid fort for Obscured is likely to fall. So what is the play for Obscured?
I mean, for Obscured, your goals right now are to attempt to, I would say, at least try to save this fort, although be prepared for it to go down. And once that Dragon Knight has expired, it really depends on the state of level 13. If that hasn't been taken yet, for Team Showboat, there is going to be an extremely small window for Obscured to force a team fight, get it picked before 13 can be gained from their opponents, and make a turn that way. If 13 is grabbed, that's going to be a bit more difficult, and they'll likely want to immediately disengage and say, we need to protect whatever assets we do have. If there are camps available, they should attempt to grab those as soon as possible rather than wait it out. Team Showboat could potentially invade, knowing that they have that talent advantage, which then just causes more chaos for Obscured. They have to spread their resources all over the map and not really fight together as a team unit. And so it's things like that to look out for. But also, you know, in both these games, and we talked about this, were those early camp invades. Will they be brave enough to maybe do another one of those and try to get a little bit of an advantage that way? It kind of depends on how much experience Team Showboat gets out of this Dragon Knight.
I don't know how, you know, all teams are different, the shot calling dynamics, how they talk. one of the things that my squad and I has started doing is kind of preemptive or step-by-step shot calling. In that, what I mean is we're getting keep here and then we're out. We're getting front wall and then we're out. We set an objective, and then what happens once that objective has been achieved, I feel like it's cut down a lot of our overstaying on assaults or kind of indecisiveness when something's going on like that. So I think if I'm the side of Team Showboat, I'm saying mid keep or a mid fort bot keep wall. That's the goal that I'm setting. I'm going to see if we can get bot team wall. I wonder, can they see us, Cat Peach? Because they certainly haven't been reacting to us in the chat.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. It's a good question. But it looks like this game has
restarted, and we're off.
Yeah. So we are apparently off, and we're gonna see Team Showboat take that fort and immediately backed off, like you talked about, saying we got the thing that we were set out to do. Let's take a step back and then reevaluate where we are and what we can gain next. 13 has been grabbed, which is what we talked about, and so Obscured is going to have a hard time coming up with any kind of engagement unless they can get 13 themselves for when this Dragon Knight fights.
And Showboat doing exactly what I say I would want, which was mid fort then bot wall. They're not going to finish the bot wall. They'll take it down to about half damage. Varian is split out. The re-engage coming out from the side of Showboat. However, the taunt coming out to the Junkrat on the backside kind of cancels that Riptire. There's the charge, the flip. Varian is barely living, and he gets out by the skin of his teeth. Or does he? 23 hit points.
My heart just stopped beating for a split second as that lurking arm went out, and I was like,
Lumpy.
Varian's gonna get away. It just is fine. Oh no, that health bar's going down because of that arm, but just enough. 23 XP, I think, was what I saw.
23 HP, yeah. Lompico, with the increased duration, or the duration on the lurking arm staying after it ends, almost came up with one of the cheekiest kills that I've ever seen. But falling just short. In the meantime, Team Showboat painting the map blue, picks up both top and bottom merc camps. And now we have a game. Team Showboat is posturing into the bottom lane to push with the siege camps. They are going to pick up bottom bruisers. This is kind of a tempo storm thing that they've been doing a lot lately, which is late game pushing with these mercs. They're going to have Siege Giants, they're going to have Bruisers, and they're going to push in with it. Obscured is a little late on the rotation. Blaze and Alarak not here, and you can see the retreat pings from Obscured coming out. Blaze now making the rotation down to the defense.
And just looking at these level 13 talents picked up from Obscured now that they've hit that, we see Potion of Revival from Deckard Cain, which I really, really like to ensure that the members around whoever picks up that potion also gets a bit of healing. It gives everyone a little bit more sustained since Deckard's healing is more burst focused with those potions. So really great talent pickup, in my opinion, coming from Obscured. And now that all those camps have been seemingly cleared out, there is still one pushing in the top lane, but that lane is still pushed out a little bit in favor of Obscured. That kind of doesn't leave too much left for folks to capitalize on, and so they need to start pushing out these lanes or start preparing to capture these shrines when they spawn.
Trap being set up on Anzanson in the top lane. 3, 4, 5 members of Team Showboat rotating. He is in trouble. Something I wanted to mention, Garendorf on Alarak in the bottom lane. Axel Foley does catch him. The charge, stun, flip, self-unstoppable goes out. He is not getting out of this. It's just a matter of buying time. In the meantime, Obscured is taking the free push in the bottom lane and will get a lot of damage on the bottom fort. Team Showboat coming down in numbers. They're on the verge of 16. And they have caught Obscured here in a 5-on-4. This might spell trouble. Mumu on Blaze taking a lot of damage. An excellent Tornado by Unicorn King may save Mumu. It's going to be close if Sonya has her a massive shove. And there's the stun. Mumu finally goes down. Taunt used defensively. 5 members still up. Only 4 for the side of Team Showboat. Team Showboat now showing that they are going after the Dragon Knight, likely to secure yet another one. Back-to-back DKs maybe on the horizon here for Team Showboat.
That use of Bunker from Muma actually made my jaw drop. I thought Muma was toast. Bunker goes down, just a little bit of health gives Deckard enough time to lay down a potion for that exit and to at least elongate that lifetime. Still ended up going down in the long run, but that was a really clever attempt of getting out of that really hairy situation for Blaze. But this Dragonite now, as you mentioned, we have level 16s on the side of Team Showboat, and with Dragonite pressure on this keep, it's likely going to go down, and depending on where that talent experience lies at the end of this, we might see Team Showboat back up and play a longer safe game, or they might decide to get a few more picks and possibly just go for core. This Dragonite is still really healthy with this keep already down.
You know, Team Showboat, the second half of this game has kind of been falling into form. You wonder if internally they made the adjustments to kind of these really heavy melee comps being shown by Team Obscured, kind of made the changes that they need to make to change slightly how they're playing into a more traditional comp. Concussion Mine does split up all the members of Obscured. They have about 10 seconds left on this DK. Once again, Mumu and Blaze finds himself in trouble in and out of the bunker. He is not going to get out of this, though. Likely Dragonite in full pursuit, and he does. Well played by Mumu to escape that with the DK.
How does Mumu keep getting out of these? Like, these are really great attempted saves from Mumu, and Deckard just with the potions to follow up to keep him alive, and with those shields are really impressive, even though they're down right now. Like, that's such good play in trying to keep him alive.
So out of that Dragonite, they were able to knock down the mid-keep wall, build on their leveled lead just a little bit, but most importantly, first keep of the game has fallen in the bot lane in particular, where these Mercs pull, and you can see Team Showboat doing it one more time. They will Bruiser, push in the bottom, Axel Foley anchoring there. There's the mine and the trap and the Sonya to anchor nobody coming through that bush. I think Obscured knows they're down here, though. Not really in a position to defend it. So once again, bottom lane pressure coming out by Showboat. The retreat pings coming out again. It is a pretty much full-strength Siege Giant camp, a full-strength Bruiser camp, and a Kata. This time, no keeps for defense. This is, with a couple of picks here, this is 100% game threatening from the side of Showboat.
Yeah, Malthael's returning with the rest of the team, understanding that pressure. This Mercamp's going to go right to this core. Obscure needs to clear this out immediately. And Team Showboat deciding it's not worth the push. They had enough distraction. They see that they still have a giant camp of their own to grab. So looking like they're going to simultaneously clear out the Merc wave that Obscure grabbed in that top lane, while potentially scoping out their own and assisting with that push in top as well. I would have actually liked to see them push a bit more in that scenario.
I don't know if I would have liked to see them posture a bit more. Just look for a positional error from the side of Obscured, because they didn't even posture aggressively. They kind of walked it in and then rolled away, and that's fine. I think they're pressuring for 20 is what they're trying to do here. Wanting to not give Obscured that pre-20 fight that they want. And now putting pressure on the top lane, this time with the Giants, and maybe a Bush party looking for the rotation coming out from Obscured. However, Obscured also anchoring in the bushes and rotating very carefully.
Yeah, I mean, they've had a couple situations where they got picked off already, and so sticking together, making sure they're carefully scoping out these really dangerous rotations is great play by them. They want to make sure that they don't lose this by something as simple as not rotating properly and getting picked off that way.
Sonya might be in trouble here. She is caught mid, charge, taunt, jet propulsion, root by Decker Kane. However, the teammates coming on the side from Team Showboat, an APOC Dibbles charge completely obliterates Varian. Mumu once again running for his life. We mentioned it when the Diablo was shown. Axel Foley showing no signs that the rework has bothered him at all. Alarak likely to go down. However, instead it's a Sonya going down, and then Last Rites taking down Diablo. He will be back, as he did have souls. That looked bad for Sonya, then great for Showboat, then bad for Showboat. However, they did pick up 20, and they do have 4 members on the field to only 3 for Obscured.
Yeah, and even though Obscured does currently have these shrines, it's quickly being transitioned over in that top lane for the time being. 10 seconds until Varian's back, a bit more for Alarak, so not too much that Obscured can do except clean that bottom lane out of those catapults and those minions. While Team Showboat, they say, well, you have to do that, and we know you're going to be there. So we might pick up a tasty Dragonite for ourselves, which, again, puts Obscured in a really difficult position. We have level 20. Just go ahead.
I was going to say, I am very surprised that Obscured let that Dragon Knight go with so little in the way of them trying to attempt to stop them. They didn't even try to rotate to the off lane. I mean, a level 20, minute 20 DK is very powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. And given that this bottom lane is already pushed all the way down, we have the Keep Missing, we have catapults behind this Dragonite. This is going to be a really dangerous situation for Obscured, and they need to pick something off immediately, and they need to focus this as much as they can and not get picked off themselves too early.
Now, Malthael is in the middle lane trying to soak 20 for the side of Obscured here. Here goes the APOC charge, and Blaze was locked down for what seemed like forever between the Lurking Arm, the Diablo charge, and the APOC. Game 2 going to Team Showboat, and we have a Game 3 on the way.
We have a series on our hands, as some like to say. Not a 2-0 shutout like a lot of the games in this playoff series have been. Yeah, look at both the siege and damage from the Cassia coming out in that last game. Only 1 death. We had a total of 12 kill participations there. Golly, Cassie is great.
Yeah, when the team knows how to utilize her, really you could see. I mean, I don't say this disparagingly. I actually say this in a complimentary way. There really wasn't, in my opinion, a standout player from Team Showboat. Just everything blended so well together. All of the players played well. Everybody complemented each other. They all had moments where they shined and made plays. Do we see the Diablo ban, Cat Peach?
Over the ETC ban? Now that it's been shown, it's definitely a possibility. There were some really great charges and throwbacks coming out of that Diablo that I think made quite the impact on those team fights. And like you were saying, there was no one individual that made or broke any of those fights, but that assist from Diablo definitely made it easier for Cassia and the rest of the team to capitalize on those individuals. So it definitely might be. A lot of other teams are banning out Diablo as well, so it wouldn't be unheard of for sure.
So Obscured has decided to pick map, and we are going to Towers of Doom for Game 3.
This is the second Game 3 Towers of Doom I've casted today, and I am living for it. I can't even tell you. This map just goes all over the place, and you can have a lead and then lose a lead, get the lead back. There is no telling what's going to come out of these drafts, out of this game, how these playstyles are going to adapt. This is open water territory, in my opinion.
Yeah, Towers of Doom, of all of the maps in Heroes of the Storm, is absolutely the map where comebacks are possible. Your team is actually never out of the game. And all of the other maps, you win a post-20 team fight, you can just march to the core and win the game more than likely. Towers of Doom, not so much. You can't attack the core directly. If you win a post-20 team fight, there are other things you can do, certainly, but you can't just go and win the video game.
Yeah, and it makes the playstyle so much more interesting overall. And it's funny because you still see emphasis on pushing out those lanes and converting those bell towers. But some of the things that can happen with being able to push in camps that end up launching shots into the core leads to some very interesting decisions. And so when I think about the last two games and seeing the types of invades that Obscured was really comfortable with doing early on in the game, if they can keep that confidence going into the later game and convert a bell tower, invade a camp, take one of the camps on their own side, and then push that wave into their enemy's territory, they're going to be in really good shape, I think, in pressuring this map and keeping up on that macro.
I agree. I am very excited for this because both of these games have been really fun. Game 1 was kind of controlled throughout by Obscured. That momentum kind of carried over into Game 2 until about halfway through, and for whatever reason, something clicked with Showboat, and the second half of that game was all Team Showboat.
You could say that they got that show on the road, but a boat, because, yeah. Anyway, enough of the bad jokes. Let's get into drafts. Do we see Abathur banned again? It actually might make sense on this map to see that Abathur ban, unlike with Dragonshire, we're a little bit confused.
You took the words out of my mouth. If you're Team Showboat and you banned Abba on Shrines and you banned Abba on Dragonshire, unless there was something you saw specifically Game 2 that you didn't like, I don't see why you wouldn't ban Abba Game 3, and they do. The question now for the side of Obscured, are they going to stick with that Maiev ban? And they are. I started to mention this game too. Team Showboat, very comfortable with her. They play her very well. It is not only is she good, but it is 100% a target ban. And as well as Team Showboat has played a number of other heroes, Obscured not going to let Maiev through.
Yeah, and I mean, that's a really great call, even though we haven't seen how it's played so far. Maiev, whenever she does make it through, just terrorizes the enemy team. So great with that pickup. Sonya being picked up for the first rotation for Team Showboat, followed again by that Leoric, not going to let that get through the second ban phase.
Yeah, if Obscured prioritizes Leoric so heavily, and Team Showboat knows that, showing that with the ban, this was the only opportunity for them to get the Leoric. They jumped on it early. The last two matches, it's been Varian early. We're going to see where they go with the second pick. They've shown an early Stukov and an early Deckard as well. And they stick with the Stukov. All right.
Yeah. I mean, so far, if I look at my notes correctly, whoever got Stukov ended up winning in this series. So is Stukov the it factor is the question.
I mean, both teams made plays with Stukov. That AoE silence, the lurking arm, I think is actually better in organized than kind of in your random pickup games. It's got such a long cooldown. You have to get value out of it. And when you're on comms with players you're comfortable with, you get more value out of it. They're staying with the Diablo. I am not surprised. And there's your Malfurion Miscap H.
Yeah, Malfurion Roots allows Sonya to whirlwind on top of those targets. It's a little bit easier for her to launch out Ancient Spear on that as well. You have Diablo to charge and flip back those targets right into the root if it doesn't land on it directly. So far, this team is, it's really grooving for me. These are some really common heroes that you see play together. And even with that Stukov on the other side, it's going to be a problem, but I think they can work around it.
The other thing to consider with the Malfurion, due to the way his healing works since the rework, you put the Overgrowth, you get the Moonfire, you heal whoever's got it. That enables those mobile heroes, the Genjis and the Tracers that may not be close to the rest of your team. Malfurion can still get the heals on them, kind of regardless of where they're at. Malfurion Tracer was kind of the hotness in HGC the early part of the season, so that's something that Team Showboat could go down. Obscured, however, decided they saw enough of those concussion mines and no Junkrat in Game 3. So who is the ban that's going to come out here for Team Showboat? Is it Varian? Now, if you're thinking of a Genji or a Tracer, the Varian is the ban. And instead it's the Blaze.
Instead, I was actually going to be entirely with you on that being the Varian. Although, one game it ended up working out and one it didn't. So maybe not so much of a pick. But just the threat of those taunts is nothing to scoff at. Now, what that does leave open instead of the Blaze And if we're worried about taunts, if they don't go the Varian, there's always the Garrosh on the table. And I don't know how often Obscured actually picks up Garrosh, but being able to have your own flip and flip someone into either an Entomb or into that silence area is also another possibility that's still on the table.
Yeah, I think this may be the first, assuming he doesn't get picked, if he doesn't get picked, the first full game that I've casted of NGS where Garrosh had zero involvement in any of the games. That would be a little bit surprising.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it was funny when Garrosh first came out. I was like, okay, this is sort of a response to a Diablo pick, right? They both mechanically have similar things of a type of stun and a type of displacement, and so we would see them a lot paired off against each other, and it was kind of like who can flip the enemy team better in that scenario. But I'm also surprised not to see Garrosh show up whatsoever in this series, because he wasn't really nerfed at all recently. And
he did have his cooldown increased on his Q and the E
that
this
is
week.
True.
So
that is true.
A little nerf.
Yes.
However, Obscured, they are sticking to their guns, and we have a triple frontline one more time. Leoric, Varian, Thrall. I assume this time we will have a ranged damage come out on the back end, but as they have shown, who knows? Yeah. So the damage now coming out for Team Showboat, they've shown the ability with the Cassia, but this time Yawners will be on Jaina, and Hanzo making his first appearance here in these semifinals.
Yeah, I was actually going to suggest Jaina on the side of Obscured, and so maybe that was something else that Team Showboat were thinking and said, we played with her earlier, we had some really great combos set up, we can possibly pull it off again, especially when you have Ring of Frost into Apocalypse, if that's where they decide to go. Hanzo has definitely dropped off, and so I'm a bit surprised to see him show up. But still really great poke on these towers, on the altars, and making sure that your enemy team doesn't catch them as often as they would like. Yep. So very interesting.
Last I checked, earlier this week, Hanzo was actually dead last in win rate in hot slogs. Absolutely bottom of the barrel. Now that doesn't say the whole story, of course. We talked about how Stukov gets more value in organized. Hanzo's going to be the same. The Dragon Arrow APOC combo is something that we've run. You can run it with the Ring of Frost, the Twilight Dream. I mean, Wombo combo central coming out for Team Showboat. And I was wrong, Cat Peach. No ranged damage again for Obscured. Instead, it's going to be a Zeratul.
A Zeratul rounding out this draft. I'm also surprised that there's zero range damage, just based on how that last game went. I know it's a little bit of a different situation with that Zeratul. You have those blinks to be able to get in and out fairly quickly, so that might help with some of the problems they were facing before, but still entirely unexpected. However, Hanzo and Jaina are very delicious targets for someone like Zeratul.
That is true, and I think this is the fifth playoff cast I've either casted or co-casted so far, and I'm going to say I've been so thoroughly impressed with what's the word, the audacity of the teams, in that when everything is on the line, they haven't been afraid to go non-standard, something unusual, maybe something the other team hasn't seen. I've seen a lot of teams do it with mixed success, but Obscured sticking to the style that they've developed, and if it's going to carry them, it's going to carry them to the finals next week against Divine 9. Game 3, number 2 seeded Team Showboat. We have Lompico on Malfurion, Yawners on Jaina, Blue Popsicle on Sonya, Axel Foley back on Diablo, and Kyrios on Hanzo.
And again, with the 4 melee setup, we're going to have Mumu on Thrall, and Zansin on Leoric, Unicorn King will be on Stukov, Garandov on Zeratul, and Itches on Varian.
And not just quad melee. You count Stukov, it's actually Cinco melee.
5 melee. I hope we don't see Stukov too much on that front line and letting kind of the rest of the team handle that, give him a bit of space to work. But, I mean, he packs a punch in that giant arm of his. So,
he does, but he can
maybe
also... he can also sit very safely behind his teammates and really should have almost no pressure on him.
Yeah, absolutely. These are some very interesting rotations. We saw Stukov up in that top lane initially, now coming down and joining Varian in mid. And again, this is always that awkward period of everyone testing the waters, right? Of saying who can get the most experience first, who can get the most damage dealt first, and then who can potentially grab those camps as soon as possible. And we see they're already up. Team Showboat by this point in both games were heading toward camps of their own and maybe are a little more hesitant to do that given how it ended up in these past 2 games.
I was just going to say the same thing. Team Showboat showing a little bit more hesitancy, maybe a little more gun shy to jump on these camps quite so early, especially with the Zeratul out there. You know, that's kind of one of the things he can do, kind of act as a ward and a scout, keeping tabs on Team Showboat. And so far, it's actually been Sonya reinforced by Jaina this time. Blue Popsicle will not get rotated on and caught out because he has friends.
Yes, this time around at the very least, we saw that go terribly wrong for them that last game. So I really like that adjustment of saying, Sonya, we know you're great at getting camps, but we're going to give you a little bit of health just in case of a looming threat. So really good adjustment coming out from Team Showboat in this game number 3. Zeratul's hopping around, seeing when he can spy out. Itch is going really deep in. Axel getting the flip, and Anzan's looking incredibly low, is not able to stay alive, and is the first blood of this game.
There was 100% an adjustment there by Showboat. You could see their positioning. They were very aware of the invade that was coming. They were ready for it. They were waiting 100% this time around, and didn't get the camp, but instead they picked up the first 2 kills of the game, and it's the first time this series that we've seen Team Showboat able to do that.
Yeah, and that's a really great way to set the pace and say, we know you're all up front and we are not, and we're going to show you why that was a mistake, right? You have to be here. You can't poke from afar. And so if Showboat can take advantage of that and say, you have less tools than us to poke these shrines and to do things like that, and we know you're going to be prime targets for a Diablo to charge in and stun you, then we're going to take advantage of it. So great response now, getting this bottom siege camp. Garandov, though, looking a little bit hungry after getting picked off so early in the last fight, and this is almost a repeat situation of what we just witnessed.
But this time, Obscured is here in more numbers. Jaina walking into the silence to try to cap that, and then decided that that was a bad idea, but did buy just enough time for Diablo to go in there. That was about as an aggressive as a play as you will see out of a Jaina, actually walking into the lurking arm very close to the enemy team for 2 or 3 seconds, buying just enough time for Axel Foley to step in, take the point. Not only did they get the Merc camps, they also secured 2 kills as well.
Yeah, and having suffered no losses on their side, I think that Jaina is going to feel a little bit more comfortable making some risky plays like that, at least in this early game. And now level 8 approaching for Team Showboat, and they're working hard on getting this gate down. 2 shrines to start, spreading out on each side. We're gonna have to see if one team wants to invade the others, but what is this taunt coming out from Itches here in mid?
They thought they could get Sonya, they did not. Now Team Showboat is arriving. Leoric could be in trouble. His physical form eating a ton of damage as he ghost walks away, and Anson going to be out of this fight. We did not mention it, but Team Showboat was able to secure 2 of the 3 shrines in the first shrine phase, and it looks like they will get at least 1 in the first 5-on-5 full team fight we've had here. The health bars of Obscured are very low. Varian has to get out, and Sanson is just now coming back with good health. Raxel Foley is wrecking on the front line. Blue Popsicle Sonya spinning all over the place. Great Blizzard coming out by Jaina, really forcing the members of Obscured back. Leoric the first to fall. Varian going deep onto Sonya, now regretting his life decisions. In the meantime, Axel Foley on the front end, absolutely no fear, and that is the first time we have seen Axel Foley's Diablo fall, closely followed by Malfurion, Jaina, and also Zeratul. So a long, drawn-out fight that looked terrible for Obscured to start. Sonya, Blue Popsicle taking Varian with them. I do not know what the final count there was. 3-4?
Yeah, it looks like it was 3-4, and I can't even really tell you who wins out on that fight, given that more members dropped over the hole on the side of Obscured, but they did end up getting that shrine in the end. They're still down on core health, but a shrine's a shrine at this point. That fight just went back and forth. I was convinced that Obscured was going to back away and give up that shrine and try to make it up later in the game, but Team Shobo acting as if they're the all-melee comp, right? Walking right up to their opponents and saying, we're here to fight, and it doesn't matter that you've drafted all these melee heroes. We can hold our own here, too.
And that is exactly what we were talking about. The coordination with the Hanzo from downtown with the Dragon Arrow, teaming up with Yawners and Blue Popsicle. Let's talk about these heroics. We have Welly from Jaina. Nothing shown from Diablo yet, but we do have Leap on Sonya, Dragon Arrow on Hanzo, Twilight Dream from Malfurion, Earthquake coming out from Thrall, March of the Black King from Leoric. Nothing yet by Stukov, Might of the Nerazim coming out from Zeratul, and no talent shown yet by Varian.
All of these games, this game and this last game, Diablo coming out from Axel Folly. The body blocks are so well timed and so well executed. Blue Popsicle getting caught out here in mid, ends up going down right before the shrine phase.
He was definitely too far forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the risks, right? You might be enticed to go far forward, but you never know where the enemy team is lurking, especially with taunt available. That is something you always have to be wary of and always assume is available. And Axel Folly is going to follow Lumalo, but going to back away. Water Elemental ended up going out as well.
Unicorn King with the lurking arm there completely handicapped Axel Foley on the Diablo. Lompico stepping out way too far with the Zeratul right in the bush there. There is no way he does not get out of that. I think that was definitely a mistake by Team Showboat. Once you're down 2 people like that, you got to give those objectives up. Malfurion was not going to deter them.
Yeah, and we're kind of seeing now that level 10 is available. Oh my. And Hansen barely getting out.
No, he is not.
Hansen's getting hit by the Hanzo.
The sniper.
Man.
Kyrios.
Whoo! Snipe hero there. I was about to say, now that level 10s are available, we're kind of seeing where this composition starts to excel with the Earthquake Slows, with March of the Black King. It puts the members of Team Showboat in a really awkward position where if they do decide to step toe-to-toe, they can't necessarily get out as easily as they have been so far in this game.
Now, to be fair, that team fight was set up by the Sonya getting picked mid lane. That was not a full 5-on-5. However, Team Showboat very far forward. Thrall is still in the top, though. Despite that, they do not care and get the Hanzo. The leap on the Zeratul for the Retribution kill, though. She does not care if she leaps right into that lurking arm. Welly is still wailing on Leoric and now Varian, and the flailing swipe disengage as Obscured backs out. That whole time, though, Thrall, top lane, pushing hard. Team Showboat in a much better position here to capture this impending shrine.
Yeah, and they have, these 4 bell towers assigned to their name. This is something that Obscured is going to have to defend hard against. And with Zeratul just spawning, it might be a bit risky as well. So do they give up the shots or do they try to fight? And it looks like they're ready to fight here.
The APOC Poison Spear Jaina damage did not get the job done on Thrall, and Diablo goes down once again. Sonya shortly to follow. Jaina running for her life. Despite what looked like a really nice initiation by Team Showboat, ends up with counter kills coming up from Obscured, and Zeratul wasn't even there. He was down in this bot lane.
They don't need him. It's fine. They got enough damage without him. They have all that front line. They got that lockdown from Thrall. They have damage from Lurking Arm. They have a giant skeleton who swings a skeleton hammer. What more do you need to turn a team fight around than that, my friends? But really great fight coming out from Obscured there, now being able to pressure these siege camps on the map on the side of Team Showboat. potentially start. They already were able to convert that bell tower that they lost, but there is pressure on that top one that is very low and close to being converted as well.
A little bit of a misclick, I think, there by Axel Foley. I think he meant to shadow charge Zeratul, but he actually shadow charged one of the minions, and Obscured instantly turned around and turned on him. Now Team Showboat needs to withdraw hard. Jaina's in trouble. She is slowed by the Zeratul, has to ice block. Leap used as a peel. Nice root arrow, but it's not going to matter. Malfurion goes down, Jaina goes down, and Obscured now maybe taking control of this game. They're going to convert those 3 kills into a boss, and that will leave them up 11 core health, if my caster math is correct. However, caster math notoriously inaccurate.
Caster math, I think, lives in its own special dimension that normal math doesn't reside in. But yeah, I'm also getting 11. Yes, so caster math on point tonight. So yeah, we have these 3 shrines, and the 3 are always tricky, right? The 3 always having to spread out. You don't know which ones your opponents are going to focus on. So this is dangerous on both sides. And even though level 16 on Obscured, Team Showboat could potentially make something happen here if they catch enough members in favor of their team fight.
Now, Leoric is going to be the last person here. Diablo and Hanzo coming up now. Leoric is still late. Each team has captured 1 so far. Flip, stun on the Thrall, Earthquake, Blizzard, APOC. This time they get the Thrall. Leap does go on to Stukov, running for his life, having to flailing swipe away. However, Team Showboat content to take their victory. Despite fighting down a talent tier, they were able to catch Thrall out and secure 2 of the 3 shrines.
And that's bringing these totals a little bit closer together for this core health. And that's all you need, right? And now that those are taken and you're getting that core health a bit closer together, now you can spread out and try to find those picks. They see Leoric showing on bottom. They're going to look to see to push him away at the very least. There's still a camp available. Axel Foley's going to go check it out, but Gurndov is right behind it and has eyes on this. It looks like he's going to poke that Jaina a little bit, but ends up disengaging pretty quick. But the lurking arm from Unicorn King coming out as well to protect it. Very good use.
And Twilight Dream wrecks Leoric. Diablo going deep on the backside. What I was going to say there before all this popped up, you don't see teams take 16-15s very much. Zeratul in trouble. There's the leap, but the silence is right there as a counter engage. Diablo goes down. Members of Obscured so low. Welly doing damage. Malf goes down. Thrall goes down. Varian goes down. And at the end, 4 members of Showboat still alive. Diablo had souls, is walking through the tunnel, and is now here, but Leoric has also spawned. At the same time, the bottom shrine 26 seconds away. You don't see teams take 16s, 15s very much, Cat Peach. You don't fight into 16, so you could see Showboat's mentality. They felt like it was so important in this game not to lose 2 of those 3 that they were willing to do that, and this game is oh so close.
Yeah, and with this one shrine now forcing the members of both teams to converge down here, I'm going to expect to see some more explosive team fights. We have a lot of the cooldowns still waiting to catch up on the side of Team Showboat. More tools available for Obscured, and so far,
now,
not too much coming out of it.
Worth noting, Ansans here goes a little too deep, and it actually falls to Team Showboat when Malfurion was not here. He was still on his way. Despite that, Showboat able to isolate out Leoric. I wonder if that was a little bit of a miscommunication. He was very far away from his team. However, the lurking arm and Zeratul destroys Sonya. There's the Earthquake. Axel Foley in trouble. APOC used as a disengage. All the members of Showboat running low. Diablo goes down. A nice Blizzard used as a zoning tool. Team Showboat pushed their luck a little bit too far. The lurking arms coming out by Unicorn King absolutely crushed there.
Yeah, now they're trying to see if they can maybe punish Itches a little bit, but during that push, I was convinced that Team Showboat was going to get that bell tower converted. And that lurking arm, again, from Unicorn King, being able to not only zone some members, but also damage other members that were caught inside of it, ended up being a really important tool. And now it's giving Obscured the chance to convert that top bell tower that they had lost earlier during that skirmish as well, along with focusing their eyes on that top siege camp, maybe converting a bell tower of their own now that they're approaching level 20. And if they can get 20 before their opponents, they can absolutely threaten both of these shrines that are going to be spawning.
You know, we saw actually an aspect of Obscured's comp that we haven't really touched on when Showboat stayed so long, is that look at all the slows they have: the Leoric, the Lurking Arm, the Zeratul, the Charge from Varian, the Earthquake. Showboat just couldn't get away once they got their hands on him, and it was very evident. A nice scouting fire stomp by Axel Foley. Both teams here, both teams posturing, and Leoric absorbing the brunt of it. However, Zeratul goes hard. Everybody taking so much damage. A huge APOC finally secures the death on Leoric. However, Diablo goes down. Malfurion may be in trouble, forced to ice block. A huge dragon arrow fighting under towers, flailing swipe by Unicorn King. However, Hanzo and Sonya go down, and that is a double altar. And Jaina, double altars for Obscured, probably a boss as well.
Yeah, they have to go for this boss.
Team Showboat is in a lot of trouble. They're going to have 1 core health left.
So what are the avenues then for that 1 core health, right? We can either wait for the next shrine phase to spawn and get it in the traditional manner. Obscured potentially could force a bell tower conversion early enough to then capitalize on a camp in that lane and push those zappers in for that final shot. There are opportunities that they can make, but they haven't really been able to successfully convert towers yet. But they have their eyes set on this top one, and given how much time is left for that top siege camp, which looks like it's about a minute, could potentially be a distraction tactic for later in this game when those shrine phases do start up again, to say you have a choice to make. You either defend against these zappers, or you grab the shrine. Either way, you lose. So they're putting so much pressure on Team Showboat right now, and it's really aggressive, and it's things like that that help secure matches like this with how close they have been.
Not only that, the bottom siege camp for Team Showboat stolen by Obscured. They again will pick up theirs, and now they're going to take mid fort as well. Painting the map red, they will only have 1 fort left, and the last way they can secure this win is simply by taking all the forts as well. If they manage to get all of the forts turned red, 1 shot will fire toward the core of Team Showboat. Axel Foley in the bush feints an engagement, decides the better of it. He does get charged and taunted. APOC has gone out, as well as Dragon Arrow. Zeratul by Garendorf just completely obliterated the backline of Team Showboat. This is going to be game. The blink, despite Axel Foley. Cat Peach Obscured has just pulled off the upset. Team Showboat falling. Obscured advancing to the Div B finals. They will face Divine 9 next week.
And here we were talking about this super heavy melee composition. It didn't work game 2. There's no way they're going to do it again. But they stick to their guns and pull out a win in the long run with a game that was very back and forth at many different parts of that entire map. So congratulations to them for being able to stick it out, pick a couple of unconventional heroes along the way. Pulling out that last pick, Zeratul, as well, was definitely a joy to behold. And making it work.
You know, the difference in the 2 all melee comps was the Zeratul, right? The Zeratul gave them what they didn't have in game 2, which was the ability to pressure the backside with his mobility. I really think that was the difference in those 2 all melee comps with a Malthael and an Alarak. There's just not a great way to get back there. This game, Garendorf on Zeratul, ran roughshod over the back line. There was just no answer from Sonya. There was no answer from Diablo. 8 deaths on Diablo, so unlike Axel Foley. Zeratul had 10 kills, tops on his team in damage. Wow. I mean, if you go back and you watch that last team fight, Zeratul just destroyed that backside, showing, even though the pick nowadays tends to be Void Prison, how powerful Might of the Seraphim?
Seraphim? That sounds right. Nephrazim? One of the two.
Might of the
His
Nerazim.
Nerazim. There we go.
All right,
But
so
yeah.
do me a favor, Cat Peach. We're going to see if we can get an interview in here. So let's join Party Chat in Blizzard, mute your
right.
Skype, and I'll see if I can get one of those guys in here.
You gotcha.
Can you hear me, Cat Peach?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Oh, see, you're coming in so soft here, too. Hold on.
Oh, okay.
Hold on 1 second. We're going to figure it out.
Okay.
Don't know why we're having an issue. Say something again, Cat Peach.
Hello, hello.
Well, one more time.
How about now?
Still so low. Hold on.
All right.
One more time.
Okay. Hello.
All right.
I will just keep talking.
There we go. That's sound quality's not great, but at least we can hear you now. I'm gonna have to check on some stuff after this.
All right.
Yo.
Hello.
Oh, Mumu, we're actually going to get you in party chat because my Discord is being terrible. So I'm actually going to invite you into our party in client, and we're going to do it in Blizz chat if you don't mind.
No worries. This is Unicorn King though. Mumu
Oh, well, then we'll get you in here,
passing
too.
on the interview.
All right, so you got to break. You got to leave the party with them, and I'll invite you in.
Now we've got the whole family together.
We do. Guys, sorry about the wonky sound stuff. I know she's coming in a little echoey, but at least you can hear her. Unicorn King, say something so I can get a sound test on you. Oh, you're completely muted for some reason. Try again.
Oh, can you hear me?
There you go. All right.
Forgot I had push to talk.
There you go. Well, first of all, congratulations. Statistically an upset, the number 4 seed taking out the number 2 seed. How are you guys feeling?
We're feeling pretty good. That second game loss was pretty rough because three of our teammates were playing in Alaska, and all of them started getting lag at the same time, and we're like, no, what do we do?
Something
Yeah,
we saw in all of those games, and this, I don't know, is this a stylistic choice or was this something match specific or something you guys have developed a whole lot of melee?
Honestly, the first 2 games, we just wanted to take Blaze away from them because Team Showboat plays a lot of Blaze and they're very good. Like, the last few games they've played Blaze, ETC, and Maiev and just wrecked with it. So we got rid of the Maiev right away. We didn't want to deal with that at all. And then we're like, well, we can just take Blaze away and then kind of see where it goes from there. The last game, we did have a lot of melee, and all of us were telling Jerndorf to go Tychus instead of Zeratul. And at the last second, he switched, and he's like, I don't play Zeratul. And it worked out, because he got a bunch of kills, so...
Total YOLO pick. I love it for such an important game.
Yeah, that's how Gerendorf runs. He just, like, comes up with a good strategy, and then at the end is like, I want to do what I want, and then he makes it work.
I
Boy.
mean, if it gets you a win, it takes you somewhere, so you can't knock it too much.
Exactly, and he's probably our best player by far, so, you know, we can't really hassle him too much.
It's hard to, if you're going to go ahead and pull that on your team, boy, you better pull that hero off. And he did.
Yeah, and most of the time he does, unless he's just trying to have fun and be silly.
That last team fight in particular, when you guys go watch that, sometimes in the heat of the game, it's hard to get a feel for everything that's going on with all those heroes. When you guys go back and watch this cast, watch that last team fight.
Yeah,
that
no,
secured the victory.
I turned on your stream right at the end there after we had won, and I caught the last bit of it, and I was like, oh man, he just destroyed. He got so many big cleaves there at the last fight.
And the Might of the Nerazim executed so well.
Yeah, that was definitely a good call on his part, and he knew they had a squishy back line and pretty beefy front line, so he was like, you know what, if I could just go kill some people, we'll win the team fight.
And he was right. How you guys feeling playing Divine 9 this week? I'm sure you'll hear from Jason shortly. Of course, not going to tip any super secret strats, but talk about Div B West, what you guys know about Divine 9, and kind of your season as a whole.
I mean, we played them in the season, and they were very strong. So basically, on my team, I watch all the videos from past matches. So like, pretty much all of today, I just went back and watched a bunch of Team Showboats games. So I'll be doing the same for Divine 9, and we'll try to come up with some type of strategy.
Any shout-outs before we let you go celebrate?
Yeah, last time I shouted out my mom because she's one of our #1 fans. She watches every game, even if she doesn't watch because Twitch is buffering and she doesn't know what that means. But she's learned, you just gotta hit the refresh button. So I want to shout out my mom, but also I gotta shout out my sister because she watched today as well. So pretty cool, family support.
Unicorn family all coming together for you. I like it.
Yeah, and of course my team because they carry me really hard every game, so that's always fun.
Cat Peach, anything from you before we send Unicorn King off into the Nexus?
You know,
Oh, I was gonna say also, Mongoose, I really like your beard. I'm trying to grow one as well. It's a thing. I've been noticing more beards like the longer that I've been trying to grow one, and I realize every time I see a nice one that mine looks really bad.
Thanks. It's funny how that came about. As I have a 3-year-old daughter, and every time I would shave, she would get upset. Like, I don't really know where it came from, so I just kind of stopped doing it. And like, my mom like hates it. She's like, shave that stuff off your face. And my daughter will be like, no, G-Ma, I like his beard. So the only reason I have it is because my daughter would be upset if I shaved it. So thanks.
Yeah, I think everyone would be upset.
All right, well, congratulations again, man. And looking forward to the matchup. I'm sure it'll be a great one this week versus Divine 9.
Yeah, thanks so much. You guys have a nice night.
you too. Thanks.
Cat Peach, any closing thoughts? Actually, do me a favor. You come in better on Skype. Let's mute this and go back to Skype.
Sound good? Yes, now?
Oh, now you sound great.
There.
I bet you it's
Awesome.
Skype messing with stuff. Whenever I have Skype up, it messes with other stuff, and I don't know why.
Yeah, it always does for me too. And at this point, I'm just like, it's just Skype things, haha. So, but we figured it out. It's fine.
We did. Any closing thoughts from you, Cat Peach?
I mean, I'm really excited to see how Obscured and Divine 9 end up going against each other if we do end up seeing more melee compositions like this. And then, is it enough to bring Obscured to the grand finals of Division B, where they will either be playing Gilly Shark or Heroes of the United States if they make it that far? So definitely a lot of different play styles coming in these last few matches, and we're gonna see who has the capacity to take it all home, who studies up the most, and these teams have their work cut out for them. So really excited to see where it goes.
Yeah, I can tell you, all 4 of the teams left in Division B, we've scrimmed. My team has scrimmed. I know them all fairly well. They all have different play styles, different strengths. They're all very good. And regardless of who comes out, they're going to be fun series. Regardless, Div B finishing out is going to be some entertaining stuff for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll just have to wait and see.
All right. Well, Cat Peach, tell people where they can find you.
Yeah, so I am here on Twitch and also on Twitter at CatPeachGG. Stream here, do Heroes of the Storm, more Nexus Gaming Series types of stuff. So if that's your thing, or if you like to hear people ramble about Probius, I did a tweet storm this morning about that Probius pickup by one of the Chinese teams early this morning. So if that's your jam, I'm your girl. So give me a follow, come say hi, and yeah, talk heroes and things like that.
And thanks so much for joining me. We just kind of threw it together in the Discord. It was lots of fun, so thanks so much. I thoroughly enjoy co-casting with somebody so much more than solo. So thanks for jumping in.
Yeah.
Congratulations to Obscured and Team Showboat for a great season. Definitely check out the schedule. Find that Divine 9 Obscured matchup. Find that Gilly Shark Heroes of the United States matchups. They're going to be great series. Have a wonderful night, everybody. We'll see you in the Nexus.